I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about a city looking to find itself. I want to tell you a story, guys, about hospitality and how hospitality is kindness. I want to tell you a story about how some humans have superpowers and how a lot of them exist in hospitality. You'll notice on the floor here, I'm stood on a red spot. I've been told not to stray out of this red spot. Now, people like myself find it hard to stand still. So I'm going to give it a go. So, we're in this city of Stoke-on-Trent. Historically, a city, a world-beating city. We all know it was and we were something special. I look around the room, there's a knowing nod from many of you, which is just wonderful. If you're hearing this talk through the TED platform, you're listening to this on a bus or sat having a coffee anywhere in the world, the same thing applies. Because many towns and cities at this point in humanity are lost. There's a sense of loss. If you like Stoke-on-Trent, there's been a great sense of loss of industry in three forms, most significantly, the Potteries. Now, it's really interesting. When I arrived in Stoke-on-Trent 20-odd years ago, I'm moving again. When I arrived in Stoke-on-Trent 20-odd years ago, there was this real sense of loss. It was still there. And what I find majorly encouraging in this moment, in this time, and it's been something that's been present in some of the other talks tonight, is this sense of new purpose, newfound focus, almost a connection and distillation of this excellence that once thrived here. Someone like Josiah Wedgwood, a great innovator, a great man who invented modern marketing here in this city. It's great just to focus on that and just really take heed of some of that incredible energy. In the work I do, we tell stories, which is why I started this off with, guys, I want to tell you a story. The stories we tell dig deep into a place's history and heritage. Connecting with the past, I completely believe, is a great way to forge an incredible future. Guys, because if you understand a place's history, its heritage, its people, what you have is people and place equals purpose. Now, we can regenerate, we can build things, we can create incredible buildings, but without people, it's nothing. It's people that bring that alive. It's our hospitality. Something that I love to explore is this idea of hospitality being a two-way thing. Come and dine with us. Come and sit at our table. We give you incredible hospitality, and you know what? You give it back. So, so valuable. A city that understands its place, its people, has so much purpose. So, hospitality during the pandemic. We were hit hard, really hard. And of course, many industries were. The interesting thing about hospitality was we lost everything. We lost our customers. You know, they were left hungry. Our venues left empty. But for the creative nature of hospitality and the people that exist in it, we looked to challenge that. What we did, we created menu boxes. Guys, any of you in here, did you have a menu box? Did you do a gastronomical experience in your own home? Yeah, and chances were that didn't come from a local place. It could have come from London or wherever. Those boxes were really hard to do. I'm going to tell you that now. The amount of effort and planning was insane. I mean, the reality is it's really hard just to get your brigade to deliver excellence on a table in your restaurant. That's hard. But to put it in a box and send it somewhere else with the right direction and commitment to the excellence happening in a home, maybe when you've got a couple of kids running around, I mean, is something else. Guys, as an industry, we excelled. We didn't stop there. What we did is we fed communities, we fed nursing homes, we helped people in the NHS. We endeavoured to be excellent. We discovered excellence on a whole new level. And the most crazy thing from that experience was we craved the return to normal. I mean, that very saying, as a passionate person, just fills me with dread. Return to normal. I mean, who wants to do that? But that's what we did. And we know the narrative from there. Prices went up. Electricity, gas, etc., etc., etc. And also, all the people that had worked in hospitality, or at least many of them, had gone to work elsewhere. A lot of them had become delivery drivers. Now, a lot of them still are delivery drivers. So I challenge you, next time you have an Amazon delivery, invite them in, ask them to make you dinner. You might be really surprised. But it's really hard to get people back in to our industry. We have a PR crisis. The way we educate people in our world, in hospitality, I'm not saying the current model is wrong, but what I'm saying is there's so much room for an alternative. What I'm interested in is this notion of total hospitality. Do those two words together sound familiar in any way? So my reference point is total football. Johan Cruyff, the Dutch football team of the 1970s, Johan took that into his managerial career, something now evident in Pep Guardiola. That quest for excellence on every single level, that's something that we don't explore in hospitality, or at least in food. Food is this incredibly broad, nuanced, detailed thing. And because, as humans, what we love to do is break it up, simplify, break it down into very small parts. But sometimes, some things are just complicated, and that is food. You think about the challenges in nutrition, the challenges in procurement, food policy, dare I say politics. I love to refer more to the policy of food as opposed to the politics of food. It's almost doesn't matter about who's doing it, but the policy is the bit that counts. These are the things that we need chefs to plug into. Because if we go back to Edwardian times, for me, the pinnacle of modern cuisine, the pinnacle of French haute cuisine, the decadence, the Edwardians, they knew how to do decadence. Read the recipes, you're like, crikey, that much butter in one sitting? So we need to move on. Or at least, again, guys, it's this case of creating another narrative, another notion. We are at a time where sustainability, the way we grow, the way we work with soil, the way we procure ingredients, even the things that we choose to grow here in the UK and the things we choose to bring in from outside the UK is a huge, huge consideration. Chefs are taught to cook, yet they understand very little about what exists outside their kitchen. Coming back to that idea of Edwardian times, chefs cooked up to the upper echelons of society. The truth is what chefs need to do in the future is cook out of their kitchens. Not be restricted by the four walls, but cook out. And when I talk about cooking out, I talk about cooking out into communities, helping people, discovering what food can be. Guys, I don't want to diminish chefs' skills. I want them to be even more skillful, to understand culinary excellence in its finest forms. And here in Stoke-on-Trent, something I've said for a little while is that we can have gastronomy here. It's just that here in the city of Stoke-on-Trent, it means something different. Just going to leave that there for a second. So, I talked about superpowers. I've talked about me dancing on this wonderful red carpet on the floor here. Now, something I've discovered about myself as I've lived my life is that if you were to test me on my neurodivergence, you'd probably put me in the category of ADHD or somewhere within that realm. Anybody else here thinking, do you know what? I have a lot of energy. I've got lots of ideas. It's great, isn't it? In its best form, on those great days, it's wonderful. On other days, God, you just want to switch it off. But what's really interesting and what really interests me in hospitality is that a lot of people that come into hospitality and decide to call it their home for their working life fall into that category. A lot of people, a lot of young people are ADHD, high-functioning autistic. Now, there is no coincidence that these people have a lot of energy. They kind of, it suits them. It suits them to stay up late at night, you know? Because if at home, they can't sit still. And often when we work with young people, I always joke with them about below the bench, it's river dance. And above the bench, it's complete calm, because they've got this big sharp knife in their hand, you know? So, understanding our people within hospitality is the key to this idea of total hospitality. I want chefs to explore excellence, ambition, and deliver on what they can really be. Because school was probably unkind. And in hospitality, we need to be kinder. Because these powers that these people have, they're superhuman. Their energy, their creativity, the way they think, conjure and juggle context and connect things that, you know, just make things tangible. It's incredible. That's a huge part of total hospitality for me. Entered into a 15-year pathway where training starts at day one through to 15 years. Through delivering that, we can increase the staffing in our industry and give them a tangible format, a tangible plan. They can see the way forward. Because a lot of people in our industry, if they have ADHD and these challenges, there's a good chance they've experienced early life trauma, pre-birth trauma. There might be a predispensation to drug and alcohol abuse. These things are factors. But if we let them understand themselves, if we let them understand a sense of certainty, a basic human need is certainty, then I believe we can begin to challenge the staffing crisis in our industry. So, where have these ideas come from? Two people, Professor Tim Lang and Henry Dimbleby. They've really set out the platform for people like me to go, do you know what? I can connect a few of these things and I can begin to make sense of them. I can begin to put it into a format that maybe can deliver something. So guys, I'm going to leave that one there. I want you to remember two words: total hospitality. Welcome to it, because it is the future. It's this idea born in my brain, my very active brain, that I have presented to you tonight. And all I ask, whether you're here this evening, whether you are on the bus, listening to this, or maybe sat with a coffee, next time you dine in a restaurant, remember, you are responsible for the hospitality as much as those giving it to you. Thank you.